Welcome to the FedLife podcast with Dan Sipe from Serving Those Who Serve. In this podcast, Dan draws from years of financial experience to help federal employees overcome challenges that every Fed can relate to. Join us for this journey as we reach, teach, and serve to help you make the right financial decisions. Now, on to the show.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the FedLife podcast. Once again, I am back with you. I'm your host, Dan Sipe. Additionally, I'm the branch manager here at Serving Those Who Serve at Sipe & Associates. I begin, as I always do, with saying thank you. Thank you for taking the time to listen. And above all, thank you for your service. You don't hear it enough. You will always hear it here. The other thing that we always have here is the guru. Ed Zurndorfer is back again as part of our ongoing mission to reach, teach, and serve you. At the outset, to satisfy my compliance department, I need to say that the opinions of our guest, Ed Zurndorfer, are not the opinions of Raymond James or Serving Those Who Serve. This podcast is presented for information only and is not intended to be taken as advice. All listeners should consult their personal advisors before taking any action. If you do not have a personal advisor, hit us up at Serving Those Who Serve, stwserve.com. We will help you any way we can. Once again, we will follow Ed's FedZone articles in our path to give us another way to reach, teach, and serve you. But wait, there is one more way to learn from Ed, and that is the weekly serving. Every week, we deliver the best of Ed, Jennifer Meyer, Ed's webinar partner, and Benefits Ben right to your inbox. So don't miss out. See our subscription link in the YouTube subscription for this podcast. Sign up. We'll get them to you. And today, we're digging into one of the most discussed and misunderstood topics, and that is the difference between a FERS Deferred and a FERS Postponed retirement. So folks, get comfortable and be sure to share this one a ton. All your friends, all your colleagues, they will say thank you. And folks, as always, be sure to head over to the FedZone and read Ed's column because he has some really fantastic tables. He's always got great stuff, but these are indispensable. And that's at fed-zone.com. So for starters, these options are for folks who may not want to put in the full 30 years or occasionally might be presented with an opportunity, say, in the private sector. So Ed, let's lay out the framework for the two types of retirement, deferred and postponed. And the linchpin here is whether the Fed has reached minimum retirement age or not, correct?
That is correct. And Dan, I just want to say, I'm glad you emphasized this is only for FERS employees.
Oh, yeah.
There are not that many CSRSs out there, CSRS offset, but we have to emphasize this is only for those employees who are covered by the Federal Employee Retirement System or FERS.
Yep. So if you're tuning in and you're a CSRS person, share it with a FERS employee. That's
correct. Or please stay on. You might learn a lot just listening to what I have to present.
Absolutely.
Because actually, CSRS, you can retire under, not retire, but you could leave under a deferred retirement as well. The rules are somewhat similar, but this is only for FERS covered employees.
Okay.
Answer your question, Dan. Absolutely. This would apply here to, in the case of the postponed FERS retirement, for those employees, FERS employees who have reached at least their minimum retirement age. And I think it's worth us just explaining what minimum retirement age is.
Please do.
Minimum retirement age is any age between age 55 and 57, depending on what year you were born. If you were born before 1948, your minimum retirement age is 55. And then starting in the year 1948, we're going to add 2 months. So if you're born in 1948, your minimum retirement age is 55 years and 2 months. By the time we get to if you're born in 1953 through 1964, your minimum retirement age is 56.
Mm-hmm.
And starting in the year 1965, we're going to add 2 months. So your minimum retirement age, if you're born in 1965, is 56 years and 2 months. We're going to add 2 months until we get to the year 1970, at which time, if you're born in 1970 or later, your minimum retirement age is 57.
Gotcha.
So again, I want to emphasize that postponed retirement and there's two types of them,
Mhm.
MRA, and we're going to explain MRA plus 10 and MRA plus 20
Mhm.
only apply to those FERS employees who, at the point of their career, have reached their minimum retirement age.
Gotcha. So, and in your article under deferred, you did list the three types. So you had the MRA plus 30, you had the age 60 with 20 to 29 years, and you had the age 62 with 5 to 19 years. So, Ed, let's follow your article, and how is the annuity calculated for these groups, and when might they begin?
Okay, let's start off with deferred, and I think the easiest way is to do maybe two examples.
Okay.
It's a lot easier to understand. Let's say there's a FERS employee who came into federal service at the age of 24,
Mm-hmm.
and they have a minimum retirement age of 56 years.
Gotcha.
This employee worked until age 54 continuously. Mm-hmm. So at that point of their federal career, they had exactly 30 years of service.
Gotcha.
And that employee, for whatever reason, wants to leave federal service. Let's keep in mind that the employee is not eligible to retire at age 54. While they have 30 years, they don't have the age. The age would be their minimum retirement age. Their minimum retirement age is 56. They're 54. They're 2 years short. They would not be eligible to retire what I call immediately.
Gotcha.
And I just want to distinguish, I want to explain what the word immediate retirement means. Immediate retirement means, Dan, that you retire from FERS service, you retire from federal service, and you get your first, in this case, FERS annuity check about 1 to 2 months after you have retired. The first of lifetime monthly annuity checks.
Gotcha.
Let's distinguish that from a deferred retirement, in which you do not retire. You just leave federal service. Mm-hmm. And then somewhere down the line, and we'll explain what age that is, you will get your annuity check. But it's not, the point is, it's not going to be immediate. You're going to have to wait a couple of years to get that annuity check.
Gotcha.
So getting back to this individual who decided, I want to leave federal service at the age of 54, and I will tell my agency, I want to leave federal service, and I think the best thing for me to do is I will apply for my annuity when I'm first eligible to receive it, and I will get that annuity for the rest of my life. So in this case, because the employee who's leaving has exactly 30 years of service, the earliest age this employee could start receiving his or her FERS annuity check is the month he or she becomes age 56. That's their MRA.
Got it.
So that's the first example. Second example, let's say there's an employee who started in federal service at the age of 28.
Mm-hmm.
They work 20 years until age 48, and they decide federal service is not for them. They got a better offer on the outside. Mm-hmm. And that employee decides to leave federal service at the age of 48. Well, in that case, because the employee has between 20 and 29 years of service, they got 20 years of service, they would have to apply for their deferred annuity no earlier than the month they become age 60. They would apply for their annuity a few months before that. We'll explain how they do that. Sure. But the earliest that their deferred annuity check would occur would be the month they become age 60, which is 12 years away.
Gotcha.
So those are two examples, Dan, of a deferred retirement.
Okay. And how about for a postponed?
All right, for a postponed. In this case here, an employee has reached his or her MRA, whatever it is. They have worked a sufficient number of years, and they have reached their MRA. Let's say the employee has between a minimum 10 mm-hmm. and 19 years of service.
Gotcha.
And they've reached their MRA.
Mm-hmm.
That employee would be eligible for what is called the MRA plus 10 immediate retirement.
Okay.
The MRA plus 10 immediate retirement. Once again, that means they retire then and get their first annuity check 1 to 2 months after they retire.
Gotcha.
They don't have to wait. They don't have to apply for their annuity down the line. And we'll explain here in a moment why they would want to wait. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing is true with the MRA plus 20, except when the employee reached his or her MRA, they had between 20 and 29 years of service.
Mm-hmm.
And they would like to retire, and they can. Okay, they can retire, start receiving their annuity.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let me explain what is the downside of this MRA plus 10 and MRA plus 20 immediate retirement, and why somebody would rather do the postponed retirement.
Sure.
When someone has, let's say, I'm going to do an example. Let's say there's a FERS employee out there
Mm-hmm.
who started working in federal service at the age of 44, and they have an MRA of age 56.
Okay.
And that employee has worked exactly 12 years by the time they reached his or her MRA.
Right.
And that employee says, federal service is not for me. I really like to go on the outside, try something else. Job market's good. And I think I'm going to retire. And because the employee has 12 years of service,
Mm-hmm.
their MRA is 56, they start at age 44, that employee would be eligible for the MRA plus 10 immediate retirement.
Gotcha.
Now, here is the problem. Because the employee only has 12 years of service, in reality, Dan,
Mm-hmm.
that employee would really not be eligible to retire with no penalty. The earliest age would be 62.
Gotcha.
Because a FERS employee can retire immediately at age 62 if they have at least 5 years of service and fewer than 20. So that by the time this employee reaches age 62, they'll have 18 years of service. They started working at 44, and they could retire then.
Sure.
Here, they're retiring at age 56, Dan. That's 6 years short of 62.
Sounds like there's a reduction coming.
You got it, Dan. For every year that employee is under age 62, OPM, when they calculate this employee's FERS annuity, will reduce it by 5. You heard it right, Dan, 5% per year.
Ouch.
Let's do the math, Dan. 6 years under 62 times 5% per year is 30%.
Correct.
It is a permanent reduction for the rest of this employee's life. They're going to have a 30% reduction in their annuity. If the employee is married
Mm-hmm.
and giving a survivor annuity, typically to a spouse, the spousal survivor annuity will also be reduced by 30%. And the employee will probably be shaking their head saying, I don't know if this is such a good deal.
That's a big bite.
Ouch, ouch, ouch.
Yep.
I say. Okay. Another option that the employee has, instead of retiring immediately at age 56, they can postpone the start of their annuity.
Mm-hmm.
If that employee would wait to age 62 and then apply for their annuity,
Mm-hmm.
if they start their annuity at 62, there'll be no reduction
Ah,
because they waited.
gotcha.
And also, unlike, we're going to talk about the other benefits, Dan, including health insurance and life
Sure.
and life insurance. Might as well bring it up right now that under a deferred retirement, you leave federal service and you're going to get a deferred annuity. You know what you're going to give up permanently?
Health insurance.
Health insurance, life insurance, dental and vision insurance, they're not coming back, Dan, when the deferred annuity starts.
Gotcha.
They're gone forever. Postponed retirement. If you are eligible to keep your federal employee health insurance and life insurance into retirement, there are certain requirements you have to fulfill. Then, when you leave federal service under the MRA plus 10, and you decide I'm going to postpone the start of my annuity, you will temporarily lose your health insurance benefit, your insurance benefits.
Gotcha.
But once the annuity starts, the insurance benefits come back. I repeat, come back for retirement.
That's awesome.
That is a big difference.
Sure. That's a huge difference, Ed. Now, also, Ed, I'm guessing these things don't happen automatically. There's probably some things you have to do, correct? Like apply?
Yes. During our FERS webinars, and we can't emphasize this enough. I say this jokingly. When you go out under a deferred retirement, and let me just give you one more requirement to get that deferred retirement. And I hope everyone hears this clearly, because this is what I tell employees who are thinking about leaving federal service. I cannot emphasize this enough. That in order to get a deferred annuity, when you leave federal service, don't make the mistake, I repeat the mistake, Dan, of requesting a lump sum payment of your FERS contributions. When you were an employee, every FERS employee, when every pay period, is putting a portion of their paycheck into the FERS Retirement and Disability Fund.
Gotcha.
Most employees pay about 0.8% of their paycheck, some 3.1%, some 4.4%, but it makes no difference. This comes off their paycheck. It's their money. They will get it back after they retire as part of their annuity, as part of their monthly annuity. But if they withdraw that money when they leave,
that's it.
No deferred annuity, Dan.
Yeah. Yeah. You get your money. If you leave it in there, your money comes back and it brings a bunch of its friends with them.
That's right. But and the same thing by definition, postponed retirement. If you're going to postpone the start of annuity, you can't say, "Well, I'd like to have get my refund of my contributions." In the case of deferred retirement, we mentioned that you have to, depending on the number of years of service, will determine when your deferred annuity will start, and it is the responsibility of the deferred of this departed employee, I call it departed employee, to download a form from OPM's website. I'll say the form very slowly. OPM's website is www.opm.gov. The form is RI, which stands for Retirement Insurance 92-19, 92-19.
Gotcha.
If that employee, that departed employee, does not download that form, fill it out, and submit it to OPM's retirement office, they got to mail it. The address is there. OPM is going to do nothing.
Gotcha.
I'm serious. I mean, I've gotten questions. Hey, Ed, I left federal service with 22 years of service. I left in 2016, and at that time I was 56 years old, and I was waiting for my annuity check to start 4 years later, and I didn't get anything in the mail. I thought it was the mail, and I said to the person, "Did you ever fill out the form 92-19?" No one told me to do that. I said, "Well, guess what? OPM is not psychic. They don't know you left."
Gotcha.
You better do it now. He did. And he got his first check within 6 months.
Okay.
But it's a good thing. It's a good thing he asked me that.
Sure.
And I just cannot emphasize that enough, that form RI 92-19, in the case of someone who left federal service with 30 more years of service, should be downloaded, filled out, and submitted. And that should be done about 2 to 3 months before that employee, the month they reach their MRA, 2 to 3 months before that month.
Mm-hmm.
In the case of someone who leaves federal service under a deferred retirement who has between 20 and 29 years of service, they should download RI 92-19 about 2 to 3 months before the month they become age 60.
Gotcha.
And someone who leaves federal service with at least 5 years, but fewer than 20 years of service, they have between 5 and 19 years of service under a deferred retirement, should download RI 92-19 about 2 to 3 months before the month to become age 62. This way, OPM gets the form.
Sure.
And they calculate. I know we're going to be talking about the calculation of the annuity here in a few moments. What happens? In the case of postponed retirement, the same thing is true. If someone postpones the start of their retirement, our example here, the person wants to wait till age 62.
Right.
They need to download RI 92-19 a few months before their 62nd birthday. And in the case of MRA plus 20, it's a little different. And in this case, if someone goes out under the MRA plus 20, and they decide they don't want to immediately receive their annuity because it's going to be reduced, the 5% per year penalty is measured from age 60, not 62. There's a difference here. Let me repeat that. If an FERS employee has between 20 and 29 years of service and reaches their MRA, let's say their MRA is 56, and they want to receive an immediate annuity, they want to retire, get the immediate annuity, they will be subject to a 20% penalty. Why? Because the 5% per year penalty is measured from age 60, not 62. So they're 4 years under 60, 4 years at 5% per year is a 20% penalty. You got to be very clear about that. Dan, there is a lot of confusion out there. I get tons of questions.
There absolutely is, Ed, because I've seen a number of other columnists that are pretty staunch on that 62 number versus the 60. And so let's take a moment. Where does your foothold on the 60 come from, so folks can understand that?
The most recent disagreements, I've gotten things in writing, is Ed. I talked to my HR, and my HR department disagrees totally with you. I've reached my MRA 56. I got 26 years of service, and they're telling me that my penalty is going to be 30%. If I take my annuity now, it's 30%. Okay. And I said, it's not. It's going to be 20% because it's under age 60. You're 56. That's 4 years. And then they go back and say, well, what's your proof? What's your proof? HR is basing their information on the OPM, CSRS, and FERS Retirement Handbook.
Okay.
And I did a little research. The CSRS and FERS Retirement Handbook has not been updated since 1998. When did FERS start? 1984.
Right.
No one had 20 years of FERS service in 1998, so they've never updated it.
Okay.
If you go further into the manual, it does talk about this postponed retirement, in which if someone had at least 20 years of service and they postponed the start of their annuity to age 60, it says that there'll be no penalty. Once again, the manual says that if a FERS employee who has between 20 and 29 years of service reaches his or her MRA, decides to postpone the start of their annuity until age 60, there'll be no penalty.
Okay.
You can extrapolate from that, saying, well, if they didn't postpone until age 60 and start right away, the penalty would be measured from age 60.
Okay.
The problem, again, is their handbook is not updated. It's outdated information. They didn't update it to take into it's never even mentioned about the MRA plus 20.
Okay. So in your travels, Ed, have you encountered somebody who actually experienced where they did not have the reduction based on 62, but rather 60? I mean, without a postponement.
Without a postponement. I have not run into such a person.
Okay.
But
all right, folks, let's
let's
use our listeners here.
I just want to give some advice here, and it's related to a client I have. I do her taxes, and she made a tremendous mistake because she went out under the MRA plus 10 at age 60. She had 18 years of service. It was last year, and her reduction. Right, and it was correct because she only had 18 years of service. It was measured from age 62. It was 10%.
Okay.
10%. This 10% reduction is for the rest of her life.
Sure.
Okay. Think about inflation now, Dan.
Oh, yeah.
Retirees are really hurt by inflation.
Sure.
In my opinion, she's going to have a double whammy. Because in addition to inflation, she's going to have that 10% reduction haunting her the rest of her life.
Sure.
And once it's done, it's done. Too late. My advice to both those employees who have between 10 and 19 years of service and who have 20 and 29 years of service, my advice is the same. Don't do the immediate retirement. Stick it out. Wait till you're 62 in the case of MRA plus 10, till 60 in the case of MRA plus 20, because this way there is no reduction.
Gotcha.
No reduction. Another thing I want to point out that FERS employees, when they retire, they don't get any cost of living adjustments until they're 62.
Absolutely.
That's another important thing.
Sure. And Ed, is it safe to say that, if somebody was in that 20 band, when they're having their retirement estimates done, it's going to show the exact number that's coming through, regardless of what the manual says, correct?
Yeah. Their retirement specialist will definitely show that. Okay.
Reduction. Awesome. All right. So, as you touched on, deferred and postponed have different impact on FEHB. So we covered that. How about annual and sick leave?
All right. Let's first of all talk about annual leave.
Okay.
And then we'll do sick leave. When a FERS employee decides they want to go out under a deferred retirement, at the time that they leave, all unused annual leave will be paid to them in a lump sum payment.
Okay.
This is approximately a month after they retire. It's a lump sum payment directly deposited into the same bank account they had their paychecks going into.
Okay.
That's the annual leave. Just like when you retire, you get paid for all unused annual leave in a lump sum payment. When you get that lump sum payment about a month after you retire. Under the MRA plus 10 and MRA plus 20 postponed retirement, you decide you want to postpone the start of your annuity. Then at the time you leave federal service, you also will get paid for unused annual leave and a lump sum payment.
Gotcha.
All right. Let's talk about sick leave. In the case of deferred retirement, all unused sick leave at the time of your leaving federal service, this is deferred retirement now, Dan, all unused sick leave is lost. it will not be used in the calculation of the annuity.
Ouch.
When you retire from federal service, and this has been true for FERS employees now for about 10 years, any unused sick leave you have at the time of your retirement will be added to your service time and used for the purposes of calculating your annuity.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This has always been true for CSRS employees, but they added it with, I think, about 10 years ago for FERS employees. For example, when I retired from federal service, it was under the old system. I had about a year and a half worth of unused sick leave. A year and a half. Thank God I'm a healthy person.
Sure.
So bottom line is it's adding about 3% of my high 3 average salary every year. I'm getting 3% more in annuity as a result of that.
Nice.
So it's a very good thing. It gives you an incentive. Of course, please stay healthy, to not abuse your sick leave.
Mm-hmm.
Under a deferred retirement, you're going to lose it.
Gotcha.
That unused sick leave will not be added to your existing service time in the calculation of your deferred annuity. Under postponed retirement, it is. You decide you want to do a postponed retirement, you apply for your annuity using that form RI 92-19. Mm-hmm. So when OPM calculates your annuity, they will add your unused sick leave to your service time, and this will be included in the calculation of annuity, meaning you'll get a little higher annuity.
Gotcha. Okay, and continuing to follow your article, next up is the eligibility for the FERS supplement, and that's a no-go for both types, right?
That is correct. If you retire, and obviously you are retiring before age 62 or leaving federal service before 62, you're not going to be eligible for the FERS annuity supplement.
Mm-hmm.
Under deferred, under postponed, under the MRA plus 10 immediate, MRA plus 20, no FERS annuity supplement.
Gotcha. And kind of rounding it out, we've got TSP, and to top it all off, there are different rules for traditional and Roth, correct?
Yeah, that's correct, Dan. Let me just talk about I'll talk about traditional first, and then I'll talk about Roth. The rule is with the traditional TSP is that if one retires or leaves federal service sometime during or after the year they turn 55,
mm-hmm.
they can make withdrawals from their traditional TSP account and not be subject to a 10% early withdrawal penalty.
Mm-hmm.
If they leave any time before the year they turn 55, they're going to have to wait until age 59 and a half.
Gotcha.
To start receiving, to make withdrawals from their traditional TSP account and not be subject to a 10% early withdrawal penalty.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That is the traditional TSP. With the Roth TSP, it's the same rule. The earliest one can make withdrawals from their Roth TSP account is age 59 and a half. Period. That's it. If you take your Roth TSP money out before the year you turn 59 and a half, you will not have to pay tax on the contributions you made because they were already taxed by definition. When you contribute to the Roth TSP, you're using after-tax dollars.
Sure.
But the earnings will be subject to federal and state income tax and a 10% early withdrawal penalty.
Not good.
Not good. Okay.
Not good.
There are differences.
Gotcha. Ed, I think the big takeaway here is that these options should not be considered cavalierly. So, as you said, I weep every time I meet somebody who left federal service and pulled their money.
Yep.
Because we work with feds folks. So we meet with feds, former feds, all kinds of things. And at least a former fed who came back has the option of paying that back. But if you leave and you pull that out, do not, it's easy to make that decision cavalierly. You're 29 years old, you're 31 years old, oh gosh, 62 is so far away. Take the time, sit down with somebody who knows this stuff, who can walk you through what the impact will be. Same thing. And Ed, it was a great point that you brought up. As opposed to taking the immediate retirement with all those reductions, work through the options so you can see them. There are plenty. There are plenty of choices across this matrix. But I think a lot of times people are going on anecdotal information, or, this is one of the things that I harp on a lot. Okay. Minimum retirement age that's not something that was created to say, if you get to this age and you leave, you're going to be just fine. Okay. Minimum retirement age could also be minimum retirement income, to go along with it. Mm-hmm. And, certainly if somebody's been engaged and paying attention, they came into service fresh out of college, and, they've maxed their TSP and allocated it properly the whole time. Sure. It is certainly possible that somebody at 57 could go out in decent shape, but that's not always the case, folks. And, here at Serving Those Who Serve, we can help you, make sure that you're doing the calculations, that you're making the comparisons. Wouldn't you say that's important, Ed?
Absolutely, Dan. And may I just add that I put the information, I summarized everything we talked about in that Fed Zone column.
Absolutely.
Which came out in May. Yep. I think it was May 24th.
Yep.
And there are two tables in there.
And they're awesome.
I'm looking at the one table right now, table 1, summary of rules and benefits associated with FERS Deferred Retirement. There's a whole matrix there.
Yep.
Easy to read, easy to understand. And table 2, summary of rules and benefits associated with a FERS Postponed Retirement. And anybody listening who's thinking about either one, you have a financial advisor, I don't care who it is, and that financial advisor doesn't know anything about the rules, you have a copy, copy of those tables, please. And I also want to say this, that we really hit this pretty heavy during our monthly. We have a monthly FERS webinar.
Yep.
The next one is going to be held on July the 6th. Mm-hmm. We have, as I say, monthly. Next, and the one after that will be in August. If you're a FERS employee and you have never attended one of our webinars, they're free. All you got to do is sign up.
Absolutely.
You'll learn so much. We go through this.
And I'm going to institute something today. Okay. So I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt that anybody who listens to our podcast probably pretty engaged, and you have a retirement folder. Okay. If you don't, I'm going to pretend that you do. And so you already have a retirement folder, even if you don't. So sneak around and go and set one up. So set up your retirement folder, whether it's digital, whether it's paper. Put a copy of Ed's FedZone article in it. This one in particular. They're all dynamite, but there are ones that are going to be incredibly valuable to you when you're coming up at decision times, because you don't know what's going to pop up. It might be an opportunity in the private sector. It might be a family thing. It might be a health thing. We don't know, but these things pop up. And it's a long way to remember back to, hey, what was that FedZone column? So print this out, put it in a paper file, download it, pop it into a digital file. And what I will do going forward is whenever we have one of these things that I feel is absolutely indispensable to be in that file, I'm going to let you know. So start your My Retirement file. Okay. And this will be the Ed Zurndorfer section. And put this in there. You're going to thank us for reminding you to do that. You're going to thank Ed profusely for creating it, because these tables are so user-friendly and so understandable that they will make it perfectly clear to you or anybody who's assisting you. So
good point, Dan. I really think it's a very good point, and setting up that file and putting in this information, very good.
Yep.
I could just add one more thing before we conclude on the subject of deferred versus postponed.
Absolutely.
I want to say one more thing about deferred retirement, and this is another downside. In addition to losing your health benefit, insurance benefits, another downside is that in calculating the deferred annuity, what OPM is going to do is they're going to look at your high 3 average salary at the time you left federal service.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say somebody leaves federal service this year, and you're not going to be eligible, Dan, for a deferred annuity until maybe 15 years from now, until 2037. Well, all those pay increases they would have gotten, we're talking about it, high inflation. I heard there might be a pay increase next year of 5 or 6%.
Sure.
They leave federal service, their salary is not going to be adjusted by any of those pay increases.
Important point.
Inflation is going to severely impact the value of your annuity, because OPM is going to look at 2022, your high 3 average salary in 2022, not in 2037, what it would have been.
Gotcha.
You have to also consider that. Also, another factor about if you do the deferred or postponed, once you leave federal service, you cannot contribute any more to the TSP. No more direct contributions. So it's a good idea saying, well, I know I should have more of my TSP account, and I would like to put more in there, but I know I can't. Think about other ways you'll be able to keep that TSP account growing after you left federal service. You get a job, a company that you're working for has a qualified retirement plan, like a 401k plan, like a 403b plan. Mm-hmm. You are allowed to transfer money that you have put in qualified retirement plans, traditional IRAs. You can transfer that money back to your TSP account.
Sure.
And this way, you'll hopefully be on target, so that by the day you finally retire, wherever you retire from, you're going to have a sufficient amount of money in your qualified retirement plans.
Gotcha. Well, brother, there's a lot to this, and hopefully we hope this helped clear up the differences on FERS, postponed, and deferred. And like I said, share this with your friends. Share this with all the folks in your agency. Okay, it's important information. It needs to get out there. So I'm going to deputize all of our listeners right now. I'm going to ask you to raise your right hand and repeat after me. I promise to spread the word on this important topic to feds everywhere I can. Okay, now lower your hands and go take care of that. Ed, as always, you are the man. Thank you for what you do for us and the federal community, and especially what you do with helping teach our team. Folks, that is a wrap. We are Serving Those Who Serve. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast on our YouTube channel and Spotify. Please remember to share it with friends and strangers. Check us out on Twitter and LinkedIn. Don't forget our live webinars every week. As I said before, just go to website stwserve.com. You'll see the big button on the landing page. Click it, and the guru will come to you. Reach you where you are, teach you where you are, serve you where you are. Sign up for one, sign up for all. You will be happy. Share it with your friends. They will thank you. Be sure to read Ed every single week in the Fed Zone, fed-zone.com. And remember to hit the link on our YouTube description so that you can sign up for the weekly serving. Ed and all of our Fed stars from SWS coming straight to you. So for Ed, the crew at Serving Those Who Serve, and me, Dan Sipe, good luck, Godspeed, and above all, remember, it's your Fed life. Make it a great one, because you deserve it. Stay well, everybody. We are out.
Thank you for listening to the FedLife podcast. Click the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Serving Those Who Serve or Raymond James. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning. Securities offered through Raymond James Financial Services Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Raymond James Financial Services Advisors Incorporated. Serving Those Who Serve is not a registered broker-dealer and is independent of Raymond James Financial Services.
Raymond James is not affiliated and does not endorse the opinions or services of any of the quoted professionals or their respective firms. Any opinions are those of Dan Sipe and not necessarily those of RJFS or Raymond James. This case study is for illustrative purposes only. Individual cases will vary. Raymond James is not affiliated with and does not endorse the opinions or services of the quoted professionals or their respective organizations.
Neither Raymond James Financial Services nor any Raymond James financial advisor renders advice on tax issues. These matters should be discussed with the appropriate professional. Investing involves risk, and you may incur a profit or loss regardless of strategy selected, including diversification and asset allocation.